welcome back everybody to the MILPA show. Glad to have you all here. Today we have a really special guest, our founder of the MILPA, so we're gonna be talking about him about the mission, the purpose of MILPA and also what's driving him to actually create this kind of platform. But before we go on, Rosario wanna introduce him and then I'll go back into
Yes.
gifts and badges.
Yes, thank you, Arturo. So, hello, everybody. Welcome to the MILPA show. And today we have Juan Gomez. He's the co founder and executive director of MILPA. And I'll pass it back to Arturo to start off with gifts and baggages.
Simon. So for everybody that don't know what gifts and baggages are, if you're new to this podcast, make sure to subscribe, right? For the first thing, right? Subscribe and hit like, right? Pero también gifts and badges for those that don't know. Go ahead and just think about what's something that you're proud of, right? What's a gift that you're happy about, something that you're excited about, right? Something that brings you life more than anything, right? And then the baggage is something that's holding you down, right? And then here, since we're in community, right, we're providing like that kind of platform for us to be real with one another, right? That we all have imperfections, right? That we also have each other's back too. So by providing your baggage, we're just making sure that we are helping each other through the space. So that's that. I guess to begin, and then we'll go to Juan, and then go on to Rosaura. Will be my gift. I'm gonna start off with the low, and then we'll end with the high. So my baggage, I would say, is that man, I'm losing my cooking skills. I gotta get on that. And so I guess the gift is that I'm acknowledging that, right, and that there's a really high importance of really being in touch with your own comida, right, with the cocina, right, with our indigenous foods, like the el maíz, los nopales, and all that, right now you're finishing the burger and don't feel right. What I mean? You gotta go back to the, decolonize our diet just a little bit more, right? So, that's my gift. I'm excited to learn a little bit, right? So, wanna go next one?
Yeah. Well, no, I don't have no baggage. I'll be honest. I'm pretty good. Like they said, you could always dig for one and find one, but it's not that serious. As far as my gift, my regalo is right after this. I'm gonna pack up and I'm gonna go up into the mountains, to the montañas, and go see my son Rayo. And he's got a little gourd that came to him, so he's got a little instrument. So he started, running around his little like fire truck and being like, Yana, Yana. So, he's gonna pick it up pretty soon. Rock and roll. Palabra, tamo.
Hey, that's amazing. So I will say for myself, baggages, no particular baggage, but I do want to say that grocery shopping is so important. And when I don't go grocery shopping, it's so easy to just go down the street and get sandwiches and whatnot. So I will echo that part about just food. Food is so important, and we eat food every day and maybe like 3, 4 times a day, right? So just saying that much. But the gift is also that I have the capacity to go grocery shopping, have water, I have a techo, bed, blanket. So just thankful for the essentials in life, and happy to be moving forward in this capacity and being here with y'all. So con eso, we're gonna get a little bit more into Juan. If you could tell us a little bit about who you are and why it was important for you to co-establish MILPA.
Yeah, pues primeramente, I just want to give thanks to the ancestors of this land, the earth, wind, fire, the water. Present myself, Juan Gomez. I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a brother um, in the movement, and I'm a member of the Tap Pilam Coahuiltecan Nation of the Ataque Pagame clan. I'm also Chicano, Zacatecas, indigenous, just brother, a bro. Those are kind of my PGPs, he, him, his, el, bro, stuff that's respectable and stuff like that. But as far as Milpa, this was really, I like to think it was like a dream, a blessing that some abuelitas way back in the days put it out there, and somehow we got the palabra, and we met this man named Ricardo Duran, who's now in the spirit world. He was an ethnic studies professor back in the days, I think in UC Santa Cruz, but he was well respected, really active, kind of cultural scholar. And he talked to us about the concept of milpa and how we had to establish one. And it wasn't necessarily the actual planting of it. It was a consciousness, a desarrollo, right? A place like a cultural renaissance, right? Like a place, an institute of higher learning, a place of like interconnection, but also like inner connection, right? a place that we can manifest our wildest dreams. You know, a place that was safe, a place that was brave, a place that was necessary. Um, and for too long, um, it was clear that people of color in this society have been conditioned, socialized, and coerced, extorted oftentimes, into living under oppressive societal conditions, you know? Um, so, yeah, growing up in Pájaro, right, it was a small little town between like Watsonville, Las Lomas, you know. Um, I was exposed to activism from my parents and from the ladies, the señoras around the vecindad and the lower area. The whole town was really active politically, especially in the Watsonville cannery strikes. My family was also active, and like Jesse Jackson came, you know, it was like a big old thing back in the 80s, you know, when like the Virgencita se apareció in Pinto Lake, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot of things, the earthquake. Um, so a lot of people at Milpa come from that type of kind of background as well, or their parents were involved in organizing, you know, not necessarily as the leaders, but they were, you know, they were engaged. So Milpa was just, you know, it was necessary. You know, there was a lot of us that were getting incarcerated. Um, they were trying to erase us, you know, erase our spirit, I think, trying to break it. And, you know, we stood up, you know, and we kept it going. And there was others that came before us, and they're still around, you know, Tio Guillermo Aranda, there was Albino, you know, even Nane, a lot of other ones that came before that came before us that were kind of doing outreach, you know, Mike Chavez, different ones in different places. Those are the ones that were most impactful and that I can remember at this time, you know. But those are some folks that were in the area doing this type of work. Yeah.
Gracias. I think también a lot of times when we're growing up, we actually pick up on those things that our abuelitos, our vecinos have been teaching us, right? Was there like someone specifically that you really look up to that was like, you know what, I want to be like him. I want to start a movement or be building onto the movement just like him or her.
You know, well, I grew up, there was a lot of young men, young adults. They were all vatos, you know, homeboys, you know. Um, and man, they were just, you know, I growing up, I would see them play marbles, I would see them play organized sports, I would, you know, see them have break dancing competitions, right? I mean, I would see them fighting, right? I would see them going dancing. I would see them going and doing like talent shows, you know, Canta Sin Vergüenza at Watsonville High, right? And like, so I saw everything, you know, mariachi, you know, like quinceañeras. I saw all this. So I saw life, right? I saw baile, I saw danza, I saw canto, I saw orgullo, I saw pride, I saw people, I saw a hope. And I didn't think that was bad, you know, like we took care of each other, you know. It wasn't until I think folks started uh, becoming exposed to this society that all of a sudden they were criminalized, demonized, villainized, ostracized, marginalized, and stereotype profiled just because we were different, you know. You know that so that was my inspiration, but also just my grandparents and just, you know, going to school, we knew there was different doñas, right? And like when I used to stroll with my mom, we used to have to stop with like Doña Luz and shit, right? Doña Carmen. And there was different ones that you just had to stop by. Like, and I used to kind of dread it because they talked for a long time. You know what I mean? And, you know, but it was in a good way, you know. And to me now, I understand that my mom would stroll it, but she was getting teachings with the señoras. Those are elders. It wasn't just plática, it was conocimientos, entendimiento, it was palabra, you know? So I can appreciate it now, like in many small ways, the teachings were being already manifested. But yeah, that, you know, that's, if you're saying like who I was inspired by, I think it was really at home, you know, that's who I wanted to be like.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it just speaks to the fact that our communities are alive and our communities have cultura and so much beauty and regalos that we often don't have to go that far, right, to find that magic within. And so if you can tell us a little bit more about Milpa then, now, and just what you envision for the future. What does Milpa 2050 or 3000 look like in the, or even now, what have you seen? What are the strides that Milpa has taken from when y'all first started, and just like the founding, right? And then talking about then, when y'all first began and what that was like.
Yeah, well, MILPA first and foremost is a we, right? It's an intergeneration collective, and it's of the willing, los que quieran, you know. And it's, I like to think about, and we don't know nothing. I don't know nothing, you know. Um, we're just adulting, we're learning, we're becoming, we're transitioning, we're stepping up. We're in that constant flow, just like the sun and the moon and the universe. It's flowing, right? And we're learning how to be with each other, right? And I think that we're learning to trust each other. We're learning to be patient with each other. We're learning to push each other, to be vulnerable with each other. But yeah, Milpa, I think at the very beginning, as I was sharing, it was necessary more than anything. There was a lot of individuals who had been doing the work for a long time, but it's like every generation needs its own little space and lugar. So it was ours, right? And as me being formerly incarcerated, I can tell that there was a lot of bias against folks that were considered from the calles, callejeros, callejeras, vagas, traviesos, los cualquieras, the screw ups, and not on those words. There was a lot of stigma because it's in our communities. There's this like you have to be like muy almost, right? Like you have to make it, and you have to basically assimilate. And if you don't assimilate, you ain't nothing, right? And I think that yeah, it was just kind of a squatch. We're gonna like kind of come together. While being locked up, we became woke, right? You're like, oh, okay, like there's something to fight for. There's racial justice to fight for. There's like an advancement to fight for. There's like a community to better. There's a community to beautify. There's like healing that needs to happen. And so, from the very beginning, we're gonna resist, we're gonna exist. And we told ourselves, like, you know what? Whenever we walk somewhere, people are gonna be like, man, there's something about them folks. Whenever we talk, we're gonna spark an imagination. Whenever we write, folks are gonna be like, wow. And we were gonna essentially be able, ideally, to invoke the richness of our cultural resilience, our agency, our ancestral lineage, our bloodline, our like badassery, our magic, all those things, right? And we're gonna package it, and we're gonna make dale shine, you know what I mean? And we're gonna make it bling. We're gonna crease it up, right? And we put packaged all together. It's like we're not gonna look at Western ideals. We're gonna look at the people's ideals and our lived reality and our culture for signs and symbolism that can inspire and transform our imagination. And we can indigenize, right? We can reclaim and reaffirm, as indigenous people of this land, right? That huitos nopales, that elote, the peyote, the chayote, right? The tamales, the chilaquiles, the molcajete, we have it all there. Like one thing, like we didn't lose the kitchen. They tried to take a bunch of stuff, but we kept the kitchen, and the dichos and the cuentos, and a lot of other stuff. But like, Milpa then, that's what that was about. It was about putting it all together, but in honor of those that came before us, those that are still, on this road a little bit or a lot more ahead of us, and those after us, that we had an interconnected link, and that we're going to make them proud. And we're going to try to do the best of the best that we could, so that we can be healthier. We can be like have wellness. We could have a place of desarrollo, you know, what it would look to go from being a young boy to being a young man to being a man, adulting, adulthood, personhood, that young women could have that type of space, you know, that some of our other folks who identify across the spectrum could also have a space to explore and be curious, you know. That's kind of, you know, how we thought about it, you know, but it really, for us, it started like, we were all locked up. A lot of us from neighborhoods. We had caused a lot of damage, and it's like, you know what? You know, let's put all that behind us, and let's work collectively to a beautiful, balanced, healthy front. You know, where our children can come in, where our grandparents come, the señoras. You know, that people come to us. You know, and that is, yeah. You know, that's where it was then. And we prayed about it. We've been praying about it. You know, we had elders that come and gave us the recognition, you know, share with us fire, share with us songs, share with us palabra, share with us cuentos, share with us feathers, gourds. There's different ones that came along the way. And we also started going to other places, you know. One of the individuals, there was a couple of individuals that in our desarrollo were really important. One is Jerry Teo, and the other one was Robert Castro. They really kind of help us in a time where we're just trying to figure it out. Another one that always been really central is Maggie Steele. You know, another one that was really important to us was the Theo Chuy Ocelo. He's in the spirit world now, but like that's our image, that's our mold. You know, Linda and Rick Larios also, they've been really helpful, you know. And I say all these names because like MILPA is not just like MILPA, it's like a whole crew, you know what I mean? It's a whole pozole, you know what I mean? And so MILPA then was as, yeah, you know, it was just a dream, you know. A lot of people didn't like it, you know, because we were different. We were challenging folks. We're going to be okay with the status quo. We're not going to be in those type of politics. We're going to have, you know, we're going to go into our cultural ways. And like I said, but we had to earn our respect, you know, and we did that by working hard. We did that by researching. We did that by traveling. We did that by organizing. We did that by protesting. We did that by advocating. We did that by, you know, reading, writing, you know, having palabra, right? We did all that. So MILPA, as it's transitioning now, it's I'm hoping that our folks see MILPA as a place like where we can have an institute where you don't have to go necessarily to the university to get this type of teachings, right? That they see MILPA as a place that they can call home, that they can come, and that it's a place where healing and well-being is at the center, but you know, public advancement, political education, right? The community betterment, right? You know, that MILPA could be a place where we have architects to design playgrounds, that we have doctors that can open up clinics, that we have engineers that can open up solar plants. You know, I don't know, there's different things, you know. Definitely want to have educators to open up a school. You know, we want to have, you know, yeah, you know, public safety, you know, individuals, right? You know, if something happens, they can have restorative justice circles for us. You know, they can put us in the sweat. They can sit us with the councils of elders, you know, like an imagined community, you know. Yeah, that's kind of how I see MILPA, but it will also be changing. It always has to continue to evolve at some point. You know, I'm not going to leave, but I have to step to the side so that the rest of the MILPA, the younger ones, can take it to the next level. I'm still going to take it to the next level, but I have to open up a different football field, you know, a different boutique, you know what I'm saying? A different freaking landscape. And everybody at MILPA has to do that too. And so that's, you know, hopefully that happens sooner rather than later, you know. And at the end of the day, we also got to make sure that we have health insurance, that we have, you know, living wages, you know, because the type of social emotional exhaustion and toll that it takes to do this work to repair the harm that the system has done. The system has been very violent to us, to our people, generationally, and you know, a lot of stuff that's coming to us, it's because we have the ancestors' blessing, you know. So yeah, you can see, I think Milpa in the future, I really believe you'll see individuals picking up their instruments again, their songs, their danzas, their poetry, there a lot of these different things, a lot of weaves, beadwork, you know, woodwork, um, the metate, you know what I mean? All that type of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you saw this right now. You're seeing about everything that you're mentioning, even like mentioning Uncle Rob, Maestro Rob. It reminds me of like to hit him up, you know, to be further connected with the palabra, you know, and everything that all the teachings that come with everybody within our own community, you know. And for others that have yet to build connections with their elders and stuff like that, how could they do so, right? Or even like for those that are trying to see Milpa as a way to, get introduced to all these individuals with a powerful palabra, with a lot of conocimiento and everything. How could they go ahead and be connected with the work that y'all are doing? What are some ways for them to reach out to you?
Well, first off, you gotta check us out on Instagram and Facebook, right? Milpa Collective, you know. Um, and then also we have an office space, you know, 339 Mallory Lane right now because of COVID, you know, it's not all that. But I think through that, you know, you can get involved in online programs and sessions that we have, services that we provide, leadership, you know, development opportunities, you know, círculo, all that. And at the end of the day, it's this is a process for life, you know, and sometimes it's not for the individual at that time, and we're not perfect either, you know, and other places might be able to cultivate or provide what you need, you know. So we also don't try to be like all chasing folks either, you know. But I think that as far as what you're talking about is, a lot of our folks are really culturally starved. Sometimes they don't even know it, right? And so I think coming and just getting to know us first, like, you know, everyone says, I want an elder, I want to do this, and I want to learn. And like, well, that's cool. Well, how about you sit down first and sit in círculo and believe and decolonize and stop doing that and start doing this. You know, it happens in little subtle ways, and it's not always physical. The elders are not going to come to you necessarily in a physical form. They might come to you in a dream. They might come to you in an energy. They might come to you in the stars. They might come to you in the fire. It might come to you in drinking water by a river. It might, you know, it might happen like that. You know, you start seeing things different, the colors, right? You might hear the water drum. You might hear the gourd. You might, you know, you might eat medicine. You might smell the copal, the beru. You know, you might see an an indigenous dance. You know, there's different things that are going to invoke that elder, not just within yourself, but out in the universe. And most importantly, it's like you got to see your grandparents as those elders. You know, um, yeah. So that's all I would say about that. You know, it comes, but it doesn't come like how you're thinking. It's like we're not like trying to have like express elders or like rent a elder. You know what I mean? You know, because there's a lot of things that happen too. You know, so it's not just a beautiful thing. You know, it's a very hard, demanding, life changing process. Um, yeah.
Yeah, and speaking to that, it is very difficult work, and the people that choose to engage in it for whatever their reason might be, so it can be really hard, but there's also a lot of beautiful moments. So for you, what have been some of your aha moments that have made you become closer to yourself, to your family, to your community, moments that have really helped you to reflect, even to cry, to feel something bonito, pues?
You know, when we turned like 4 years old, right? We had a like a giveaway, and you know, we had this young sister Brianni, and I'm like, oh, what if you just did this, and that? And she ended up doing a masterpiece. She was like just an amazing artist. I couldn't even believe that she could do some of the things that she did. And she put this painting with this teepee, with this kind of abuela sitting down weaving on like a tapete, and it had corn and an eagle, and she was kind of tejiendo with her shawl. And then in the teepee, the people were praying, and this grandmother had all her instruments right there. And then it was like a prayer, Well, we had invited a lot of individuals to come, but only one grandma came. And to me, it was like, the grandma that came was from the area, So to me, that was a big aha moment, because we completed it. The very next year, we completed another commitment, 5 years of planting corn and towards a fire. So they they blessed us with just like getting to know the fire, and like, what? That sounds all crazy. Like, yeah, that's a big honor, I think another one was when we turned around 7 years old, we had another ceremony, and we ended up doing it right there, and like in the back roads of like over there by Aromas, Las Lomas, Watsonville, and I grew up playing in those fields. So literally a homecoming, I can go on and on. There's so many things, I think the biggest like aha, it's when I start seeing that the people that have stayed close to the fire, followed the water, and really worked hard their whole life, they're traveling, they're eating healthier, they report having better relationships with their family, they're going to universities, they're just outstanding folks. Like they're just, and I get to hear about them and read about them now in articles and stuff, right? Like, oh, and we're like a whole like crew full of like, it's leaderful, right? And like aquí, it's like, yeah, hell yeah, you gotta put in work, but you also gotta take care of your heart. And I feel that, and through thick and thin, our little milpa really, when it goes down, it comes together, por las buenas y por las malas. And I think that's the greatest accomplishment, because we don't have a lot of places you can do that. You go a lot of places, it's weird, and to get like paid, to get healthy for just doing the right thing, it's and having our moms and our grandpa, sometimes people send pictures and saying, oh, my dad just saw an eagle, oh, my mom started asking about the ceremony. I mean, those type of things, like folks who are really Christian or Catholic, or their parents might be saying like, what, I told my mom now. I wasn't ashamed no more. I just told her straight up. And they were okay with it, because there's a lot of stigma that we also like. There's I think that forgiveness is, I think it's one of the biggest ones that I think I've experienced, that I've committed harm on people, but I've also been harmed, and showing and having the internal fortitude to forgive, not to forget necessarily, but to forgive. I think that's the biggest one, because we don't need it. That little rabia, that little shame, that little doubt, that little anger, that little fear, it has to go away. There's no room for it, for where we're trying to go, because what are we going to pass on? So that's one of the biggest aha moments. The other one, I think, the day that we ended up getting our little letter that we were incorporated officially, it happened right after we went to get the water in the res. We were going to have a ceremony that night. So it was fitting that right after we got the water, as soon as we came into range, one of the brothers was like, it was a brother Israel actually, hey, did you see? We got it. I'm like, yeah, we got the water. So we got the blessing and then we got the paperwork now, you know? So like I said, people trip out, like they're all crazy over there, like, yup, you know, we're just like having fun, you know, and we're trying to have a colorful imagination. Like that colores type of stuff.
You got any more questions, Osara?
I wanted to actually, if you may, I didn't have it planned, but if you can talk a little bit more about the significance of the sweat and why, like, what does that mean to you, and what does it mean for people that are going into sweat to open yourself up in such a way? Because I can share for myself, you know, we did a sweat this weekend for the sister Airam, and for myself, feeling very vulnerable, feeling really raw, feeling really a lot of teachings, a lot of lessons to take in. But if you could speak a little bit more to people that may not be familiar, right? Because I think that's the whole point, is being able to get back in touch with our cultural roots and with teachings that we're not familiar with on the daily. Because our parents, for example, my parents, like you spoke about, my parents are Catholics, so they don't talk about that. If I try to talk about that with them, they're like, brujeria, eso no son cosas de Dios, because they don't understand. So if you can speak a little bit more about the significance of the sweat and those cultural traditions.
Yeah, you know, because I grew up like that too. When I first started, like, you know, showing them a gourd or these type of things, they would laugh at me, you know, pinche Johnny, you know, se van a poner locos, and, you know, kind of just like wolfing, you know what I mean? And then my dad, he's a preacher, right? So like, you know, they're really Bible based. So, yeah, on both ends, you know, you have to kind of deal with that. But you know that I think that all of that's kind of questioning. I think when we share with them, what it does, it opens up a little bit of like an opening somewhere. It rattles an ancestral DNA, like, oh, I know about that, but you know, they got to fight through it. So I'm not qualified, first and foremost, to talk about the sweat. I don't know nothing, but I will share the importance of us being interconnected to the universe and to seasons. We're connected because of fire, of water, of earth and air. We have to have places where we have natural based, earth based type of healing, where you see yourself, your breathing, your water intake, your diet, your exercise, and your well-being and your mental wellness and clarity as the best doctor, the best medicine. But we need to be in a place where we can sit long enough and not swipe right or swipe left or cancel somebody or freaking, you know, throw an Instagram, you know. What's happening right now is all those things are distracting us. And they're distracting us, and they're keeping us in this constant state of being colonized, of being like okay with the status quo, being stagnant, being domesticated, right? We don't even know the long-term impacts of what all that damn radiation is going to do to us, right? And it's going to make us lose our minds, literally. You can't even, a lot of folks can't even remember freaking, you know. And so that's a big thing that, you know. But also I will say that places like a sweat lodge, like sitting in circle, like, you know, having dance, you know, there's different dances, you know. There's bear dances, there's, you know, eagle dance, there's deer dances, there's, you know, mexica danza, you know, there's different, you know, grass dance, jump dance, there's different ones. But I think that really it's the importance of it is to be in kinship, because you're honoring the earth, you're honoring the mother, you're honoring the grandpa, you're honoring your relatives, you're honoring probably the seasons, you're honoring the transition of an elder, the transition of a young person, you're giving thanks, right? And that only happens when you have space where you have to go back to nature, the dirt, siéntate, right? Aplástate almost, atáscate, right? You get all dirty and stuff, you know, you don't, you know, and everywhere else is just pageantry. La quinceañera, it's pageantry. La boda, it's pageantry, right? It's a big old hella barriles, hella birria, you know what I mean? And it's like you spend a bunch of money to the veterans hall You don't even own it, right? And all that's, it's keeping you stuck. Hasta a lo mejor se pelean, right? And so a place to convivir y reunir, once again, I think that we need those spaces because more and more of us are going, more and more of us at a younger rate or age are going, and we're getting exposed to it. And what I think what's happening is that we're reversing harm and we're inviting blessings. And what's going away is the duda, the fear, the rage, all that stuff is going away. And now we can have a healthy, positive attitude. We can be more kind, a little bit more open, an open mind and an open heart. Wow. Because a lot of people have a closed mind. A lot of people have a guarded heart, So I think that that's the best way that I could do that. Once again, I'm still, I'm 38, but I'm still, on the younger side compared to a lot of folks. So, yeah, I think other folks would be better at that. But like I said, because I don't know nothing about those things. I just know that, our mother, our father, the grandmother of our father, and the grandfather of our mother, those are the important ones,
Yeah, muchas gracias, Juan. Was there something else, Arturo, before we get into our call to action?
Nah, it just reminds me to hit up some of the elders that I know too. It's been a while since I connected with them, So I think this episode definitely serves me as a reminder, right? I was like, continue being connected. And as I mentioned too, definitely need to go back to my cocina and get something straightened out there as well, So gracias, Juan, for the reminder, and for your palabra.
Yeah. So con eso, I will ask, what is your call to action for the young people of Salinas and the wider Monterey County, especially you having grown up in Pájaro? A lot of times from my conversations with people that are from the area, there's not a lot of resources for the young people. It can be really difficult for them to get caught up in just the cycle of incarceration, right? The school to prison pipeline. And so for you, what is your call to action for the young people?
Well, I think that they need to organize in their classrooms. They need to advocate. They need to learn to do that. The same way that they might be, organizing to have a party or a get together, or they should, going to the movies. They should organize like, hey, can we get a cultural speaker, right? Can they all sign letters to the principal? Like I said, they can do a quick petition that will allow them the text message and be like, you know what? We want more counselors. We want more art. We don't want school resource officers. I think, our parents, I would encourage them also, to go up to the principal and like demand to see like budgets, demand to talk about like, okay, what were the lessons, what were the challenges this year, and what were the successes? And what are we learning, and what are we going to do different? And what's it going to take to make a difference, as far as just our young people, I have the biggest hope, and where I'm putting my money in is our young people. We're seeing a lot of young women coming through MILPA, and we're seeing also a lot of young men coming back from being system impacted, getting engaged. And that's what it's at, because we have to have spaces of convivencia. We're separated way too many isms. And we need to have a space to be together, for the liberation of our families and our communities, right? So that would be my call to action. Come sit in the circle, get engaged, get involved, look us up. Yeah, that would be my call to action. The other thing, I would press, like, you gotta stop drinking. You gotta think about what you put in your body. We need you. We need you healthy and vibrant for the long march, for the next 100 years. El plan de libertad. And like I said, just be mindful, even like not too much red meat, not too much menudo, not too much grasa, not too much manteca. those are also toxins. Those are poisons. You know what I mean? They're slow killers. Too much freaking coca and freaking Pepsi and stuff like that, right? Like, you know, there's a lot of things that, like I said, it's taking us down, you know, and all those things are messing up our ability to have like cognitive clarity, our ability to live our best selves, you know, like I'm living my best life, or like, okay, so are you eating it's like healthy too, or what, you know, not just because you're raging and stuff. Yeah, so I'll say that, you know, like I said, it's not even a call to action. It's like, hey, like ponte trucha, you know, a call to ponte trucha, you know. With this election, a lot of things, to me, literally, moving forward, the way I look at it, it's either like you're either racist or you're anti-racist, right? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because like, well, I treat everybody the same. Like, well, that might be problematic because you don't see the difference. You know, you only see that you're not acknowledging like a systemic oppression. You're not acknowledging other barriers, you know, other disparities, other, you know. So, yeah.
So con eso, that wraps up our episode of the Milpa Show. I just want to thank you, Juan, for being here with us and sharing your palabra and wisdom. And looking forward to just learning more about the cultural teachings. I feel like they're super powerful and they could be really intense, but I think ultimately just processing, and that is the work there too. So I just want to say that much. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and peace out. And yes, go ahead.
I was wondering, I forgot all about this interview. So I was on a big old road trip. I went way, way up there by past Sacramento. I started off through the Bay Area yesterday, went up to over there by Sacramento, and then I made a big old loop, you know, in the morning. Me salieron un chingo de lechuzas, owls, right, at the field. I'm like, oh, right. I just recently got a picture. One of my friends sent it to me. It has an owl, and it has the medicine, and it has the teepee, right? Prison art, right? So I'm like, okay, they might know something in there, you know? So I'm seeing all these owls coming out, you know, because it's like 5 in the morning in the files, you know? I got lost freaking GPS. Anyways, I'm cruising it down 5. I'm going over there by Los Baños. And I started just having this thought, and I looked up, bald eagle, right? Because there's a nest. I already know that it's a couple that lives right there. So I'm going a little bit more further. Boom, I pull over. I'm like, man, this might be one of those great horned owls. It was a huge, fully mature red-tailed hawk. So we got a blessing, right? And so, you know, that's the beauty of what we have coming to us. Our grandmothers and our grandfathers love us, and they're guiding the way. And todo va a estar bien. Como dicen, los que saben, saben, y los que no, no. Palabra tamo.
Gracias. And if you have to cry, go ahead and cry too.
I told you that one.
Well, peace out to our folks. Que estén bien, que se cuiden. If you want to have get to know more about Juan, just hit us up, you know, connect with us. We're available. Check out our website, read our bios, but it's nothing like being able to have that chat, being in Círculo. And right now, you know, Zoom is the way to do it. But we'll have our moments in the office, and that will come soon. But yeah, shout out to all of you, and thank you, Juan, for being here. Peace.